Okay, you guys, we got here for his weekly media session. Our defensive coordinator, Peter Sirmon. Just go ahead when you have a question, put it in the chat, and I'll call on you. We'll start off with Jake Curtis. Jake, do you have a question for Peter?
Yeah, trying to unmute here. Yeah. Can you just talk about the nickel position? Who's involved there, and how do you foresee that working out in terms of playing against Washington?
Yeah, well, the nickel position for us has been a very significant position. Really, probably the 12th starter, quite honestly. I think even last year, I think we had, if I recall, slightly over 50% of the time we had the nickel on the field. And that guy is a very versatile player in terms of the coverage components of it, but also has the ability to be a fourth or fifth or even sixth rusher at certain times. And that will continue to be a big part of the defense. Josh Drayden has played that in the past. He's getting some opportunities playing that. Colin Gamble, a newcomer, he's getting some opportunities to play inside there. So, that's a unique position. It requires toughness. The guys that play it well do a good job of demonstrating instincts. Things happen fast inside in the pass game, and got to have the toughness, and foot quickness is a paramount physical trait as well.
It is. Does Cam figure it all? I mean, during the spring, there was thought that he would play a couple positions, but I know in the constricted situation that may not be possible. Might he play a couple?
Yeah, Cam could definitely go inside there. He has the necessary the instincts of understanding of how fast things happen and the techniques that are necessary in there. So when when there's an opportunity for him to get some reps, that's another person we could get inside and he could help us.
Hey, Jake, you good for now? Okay, Rusty Simmons from the Chronicle.
Yeah, Coach, I was going to ask you just in general about Coin Dang. I know it's only a weekend, but how has he looked?
Coin is continuing to develop, and physically, I think he's almost 249, 250 pounds right now. So he has really taken a significant physical jump from when we last saw him in the red box. As you guys know who he is, his leadership is continuing to show. His work ethic is continuing to show, and I'm very excited to have him with another year of experience. And really last year, to his credit, man, I mean, the way he played an inside linebacker at a position that was not familiar with him. He practiced hard, he studied hard, and the amount of production and the development that I was able to see from week one to the end of the season was nothing short of remarkable.
I was going to ask you about that. He's kind of a long levered guy to be playing inside. I don't know how you feel about comps, but can you compare him to anybody?
I've talked to a lot of people about him. The name that gets thrown around a little bit is KJ Wright, kid from Mississippi State, playing for the Seahawks. And there's also his name is I'm remiss right now. Played at Vandy, plays for the Houston Texans next to McKinley. Another tall, more than 6'4". So there's a couple guys that are doing it right now. And I think it's, there's not a lot of prototypes of his body type playing inside. But I think it's, you have to have imagination on defense of not everybody's going to fit the traditional, height, weight specs of certain positions. But, when you get a unique body type, I think you have to explore all the opportunities and all the options for him to help your defense.
Right on. And if I have time to ask one big picture, I'm sure you see what's happened at Alabama and Florida. With so many eyes on the SEC, do you think that'll affect what you guys or the Pac-12 are doing?
In what way, Rusty? In football or protocols or exposure? What do you think? What are you asking?
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to say it. In all three, I guess mostly if you guys will be able to play, and if protocols will change at all. I think that you guys are probably a little bit ahead of it with daily testing, but you're open to answer any way you want.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody is learning from the other conferences, from the NFL, from, I think what we've learned is that we don't have all the answers, and you have to have an open mind and continue to be adaptable, taking the health and welfare of the players and the coaches and the fans as the first line of, your decision-making process. But to be 2 weeks or 2 months in how you used to make decisions and apply them to what you do today, I think that's where we need to have the flexibility and the open-mindedness of taking the best and newest information and then trying to apply it to make it the safest, opportunity for the players to go out and play.
Thank you.
Okay, Trace Travers from Rivals.
Yeah. These past couple of days, you guys have gotten in full pads, as far as I know. How have the guys kind of adjusted to contact after, a whole period where they weren't having any of it?
It's it's a slow burn for us. It's a gradual process. And, the thing that I can speak for the defensive side of the ball. Every position group worked extensively tackling, and we worked more on tackling than we did technique of any of the defensive calls we've had since we've been in shoulder pads and full pads. I don't watch a ton of football in terms of trying to find concepts or scheme. The theme that I have seen when I watch football is defenses are not getting the ball on the ground efficiently. And that could happen to any team in the conference, but that will be not something that is not addressed early on at Cal. We are going to talk about tackling. We are going to talk about leverage tackling. We're going to talk about gang tackling. We're going to talk about getting to the ball, and that's going to be something that right up until kickoff that is stressed, re-stressed, emphasized, and instructed and practiced.
And to kind of tie on that, you guys have a relatively thin defensive line in terms of numbers, and you're going to be relying on 4 true freshmen there. How have those guys adjusted to contact, and can you kind of run through each of them?
They've adjusted well. It's you start putting the pads on, it's, as you guys know, it's a different game in terms of being able to anchor, hold the point of contact, stay on your feet. It's easy when you don't have 600-700 pounds pushing on you, and then a double team releases and you're athletic enough and strong enough to stay on your feet, and you're not, the proverbial bowling ball where you're whacking all the rest of the defensive line, offensive line down. So they've done a good job in terms of holding points and staying up. Going down the line of scrimmage, I think Ethan Saunders is a player that we're really excited about when we recruited him. Big body with versatility. I think he can play 3, 4, 5, 6 technique. With some injuries in high school, he's, still developmental, like, all the younger players on our team. And that's not a slight. I think every football player on our team is developmental. I think Coin Dang's developmental. I think, philosophically, football is a developmental sport. So when I use that term developmental in this regard, that is something that I'm going to try to apply to everybody, because I think that's where everybody's at. Stanley's doing a great job. What he has shown me that he can hold the point. He's very strong at the point of attack. His feet are extremely nimble for a man of his size. So that's been a very positive thing in terms of trying to identify places that a young player with skills can help. And then go down to J.H. Tevis. J.H. Tevis is being very versatile. He's a very bright player, understanding multiple positions, understanding surfaces, blocking schemes, and what the defense calls him to do. Brett Johnson continuing to get strong. He is strong. And when we continue to work the technique, Coach Browning does I said it last time we were together, I think Coach Browning does an unbelievable job, technique, fundamentals. And then you guys have also seen the recruiting prowess that he has. So we're very fortunate that AB is working with those guys, but Brett is a very talented player, very strong point of attack. Z is a big athletic player that now with the experience, we have some opportunities to move him around. And he has a very good foundation of what we're asking him to do. And he's still developing on some of the technique and some of the fundamentals, but very fortunate to have him, and he's going to be a productive player for us. Aaron Maldonado, still relatively young in my mind, inexperienced, but he has some twitchy traits. He can be disruptive, playing the interior positions. And again, he'll continue to develop some of the consistency and what we're looking for at that interior line position.
Okay, Trace. Okay, Jake Curtis, another question.
Yeah, just following up on that, how was your assessment of the team's tackling in the early padded stuff?
Early on,
Yeah.
needs of improvement. It's not for it wasn't for a lack of effort. It's for a lack of understanding. What we talk about at linebacker is you're always trying to find your buddy. You know, who's going to support the tackle. Sometimes the buddy represents the sidelines. Sometimes the buddy represents the D line in a chase opportunity. Sometimes your buddy ends up being your inside linebacker inside of you. Sometimes your buddy is the cloud support. So I think that's one of those that we need to continue to illustrate. We actually came up with a new leverage tackle drill yesterday that we put into the practice plan for the first time. And that's something that we'll continue to do to not only demonstrate the tackling part, but to illustrate the leverage and where we're expecting leverage in your buddy to show up from.
You sort of addressed it to some degree, but after that assessment, is there even a bigger focus on tackling now than there was maybe a couple of days ago?
No, it's just going to continue to show itself because of more of the, as we ramp up practice and we get more team settings, the more opportunities you're going to see for the leverage components to really show themselves and to kind of, I guess, show up in the eyes of the players to understand how important leveraging the ball is and keeping the ball that it doesn't fall off the shelf and an easy play or a play behind the line of scrimmage gets to the perimeter and turns into a 37-yard play before you know what happened.
And one other thing unrelated to that, just the Nick Saban situation. Do you guys have a contingency plan if Justin or if our coach is out for a while?
I want to make sure Nick Saban, to my knowledge, tested positive. Is that, I don't know if they're
right. Yeah.
I had heard that. I don't know if they were confirming it because sometimes there's been falso. You're just talking about if somebody's unavailable in a game situation.
Right. Or a practice situation for that matter.
No, I mean, I don't think we haven't really had that discussion yet. I know that if you ask Justin right now, he would know what he'd want to do, but we haven't communicated that as a staff on what that protocol might look like.
Hey, Jake, are you good? Okay, David Bush from Bear Insider.
Yeah, Coach, you talked about Coyne, but have any of the other young inside linebackers after your 4 or 5 practices, anybody sort of emerged or things kind of sort themselves out in that position?
Been very pleased with Evan Tattersall from, when we first arrived here. He was one of the first kids that we signed when I was here. The staff had signed him in December. He has the tools to be a very productive player. He runs well. He's strong. And now he's getting more opportunity. He's had a couple of years of experience on the practice field, and he's showing a very good understanding of what we're asking him to do. He's been very active running around. So he's one that doesn't surprise me because, I've been fortunate to be working with him the last 2 years. But then after that, the young guys are still sorting themselves out, David. From Muelo Iosefa, Andy Alfieri just joined us here in the summer. Kyle Smith, Ryan Puskas, and Blake Anzalatis. Those guys are still developing and have been working the best they can to get their opportunities.
Well, obviously, you're going to have to count on some of those guys. Have you got a plan in mind to get them reps and to make sure that they're ready to go at an appropriate time?
We sure are. We sure are. You know, we have the reps are done before we walk out to practice in terms of what we're getting those guys to do. I modify them almost daily in terms of, you know, what we're seeing the guys develop and continue to get better at, and making sure that we have a couple levels of contingencies if, you know, somebody's unavailable for an extended period of time. We're going to have to make sure guys are available to play multiple positions as well, which is not something ideal with younger players. You like them to kind of feel good about where they start in terms of the will or the Mike position, but that's not going to be something that's going to be available this year with the unknowns.
Thanks.
Okay, you guys, anybody else have a final question? If you do, give you 5 or 10 seconds here to put it in the chat. If you don't, we'll let Coach go. Okay, seeing no further questions, we'll let you go. Thanks a lot, Peter. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a good day.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a good one.